It's no secret I love found footage, but I also love anthologies because it's like having a bunch of little movies all rolled into one. So today I'm giving you 4 classic horror anthologies you need to see in no particular order. Welcome to Chaotic Pop. My name is Jimbo Lewis, and I discuss all things horror related, including movies, anime, comics, and more. Now I'm going to say up front that these are all really well made and totally worth watching when you have the time. But why only 4? Because I was going to include the Vault of Horror, but I can't seem to find it streaming anywhere. At least for free, that is. So, kicking off the list is Tales from the Crypt from 1972. This was directed by Freddie Francis, and the screenplay was written by Milton Subotsky. It has an all-star cast, including the likes of Joan Collins, Ralph Richardson, Peter Cushing, and Barbara Murray. 5 people come upon a catacomb and take the tour. After they get lost, they find that they're trapped and they see the Crypt Keeper. He asks each of them to see why they're there, and that's how the stories are introduced. Now, all 5 of these stories are adapted from the Tales from the Crypt comic published by EC Comics back in like the 50s and 60s, and these were all later adapted for the Tales from the Crypt HBO series, I believe. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Now, the version of the film that's on Tubi has some extra gore cut from the original release, and while they aren't the best practical effects, they're still really well done. For example, in the story Wish You Were Here, there was some extra intestines shown, and while they did look kind of goofy, it was still like, ooh, that's kind of gross. So, I mean, they were still mostly effective. Tales from the Crypt is currently streaming for free on Tubi. Now, next up is Asylum, also from 1972, directed by Roy Ward Baker and written by Robert Bloch. It stars Peter Cushing, Patrick McGee, Herbert Lom, and Barbara Perkins. A young psychiatrist applies for a job at a mental asylum and must pass a test by interviewing 4 patients. He must figure out which of these patients is in fact the doctor he would be replacing if hired. Now, this one is probably my favorite on the list. I think the stories presented were just so creepy and so well written that I think if this film was remade today with the better technology that we have, it would be an absolute hit. Especially with like the first and the last segments, those 2 are probably my favorite. Now, Asylum is currently streaming on Tubi and on Screambox. Now, before I move on to the last 2 films, I'll first want to thank the sponsor of this video, my website, chaoticpop.com, where you can finally pick yourself up some dope merch. The link is in the description, and I'll also have a members section there where you'll get to see, extras and stuff like that. New merch is coming. That is chaoticpop.com. All right, moving on to The House That Dripped Blood from 1971. This was directed by Peter Duffel and written by Robert Bloch and Russ Jones. This one stars Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing again, Joanna Durham, and Robert Lang. A Scotland Yard investigator looks into 4 mysterious cases involving an unoccupied house and its tragic previous tenants. A hack novelist encounters a strangler who's the villain in his books, leading his wife to question his insanity. 2 men are obsessed with wax figure of a woman from their past. A little girl with a stern widowed father displays an interest in witchcraft. There's nothing wrong with that. An arrogant horror film actor purchases a black cloak which gives him a vampire's powers. The only one of the segments that I didn't really like was the last one. It was just kind of goofy. Like the way it was presented was kind of goofy. The acting was a little not up to snuff, I guess, even for like that time. The rest, however, were pretty solid entries. Now, The House of Drip Blood is available on Tubi, Freevee, Crackle, and a few others out there. Pretty much almost anywhere you can stream a film, it's there. And then finally is Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. I think this might be one of my favorites on this list, like right under Tales from the Crypt. Now, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors was from 1965. It's directed by Freddie Francis and written by Subotsky again. This one also has a pretty stacked cast, including Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Donald Sutherland, Roy Castle, and Alan Freeman. With a similar setup to Tales from the Crypt, 5 strangers board a train and are joined by a mysterious fortune teller who offers to read their tarot cards, it's kind of funny that I recently watched this again Completely forgot about the tarot cards, but it's kind of funny because we have that movie Tarot coming out soon, which I may or may not watch. And as he reads their tarot cards, 5 separate stories unfold. An architect returns to his ancestral home to find a werewolf out for revenge. A doctor discovers his new wife is a vampire. A huge plant takes over a house. A musician gets involved with voodoo, and an art critic is pursued by a disembodied hand. Now, I think this one was a lot of fun to watch. It was also crazy to see like how young Donald Sutherland looked. It's also kind of weird because normally you would think that they would look so much like Kiefer would look a lot like his father, which I don't think he really does. The stories were pretty entertaining, but I think my absolute favorite in this one was the one involving the killer plant in the house. I just thought it was like super unique. I don't think I've seen anything like that before, with the exception of maybe kind of the troll. I also did like the one, the vampire story. It was, I mean, of course, when they do like the whole transitioning to a bat, it's, they didn't have a whole lot of technology back then. So they had to do what they could. You have to leave some of that stuff up to the imagination to like fill in the gaps of what that would actually look like. But I think it was still really well done. The only gripe I have with this movie is the title. Because considering the wraparound story takes place in a train car, it has nothing to do with the House of Terror or house at all. Maybe like a house of cards. No, not even a house of cards. It has nothing to do with a house at all. It's all on a train. But anyway, you can currently find this one for free on Tubi. Now, if you made it this far, hit that like button. If you want to see my list of top 10 haunted house movies, click the video on the screen, and I will see you over there. Until next time, my name is Jimbo Lewis. If it was real, the cameraman would be dead too. Good night.